What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Sideswipe the Boss, back at it again with another video. And I'm here again with another Arrowverse TV show review. And in this episode, we'll be talking about Arrow Season 3, which is the next show in chronological order. So getting into the review right away, I'm going to share a couple of standout episodes for me, because this season wasn't really the best season of Arrow. It was kind of like an okay season. I know most people say it's bad, but for me, it's better than most people remember it, at least for me. But it's still, that's not saying much, because it's just an okay season. But some standout episodes for me were episode 4 entitled The Magician, episode 8 entitled The Brave and the Bold, episode 9 entitled The Climb, episode 10 entitled Left Behind, episode 12 entitled Uprising, episode 14 entitled The Return, and episode 18 entitled Public Enemy. So, Arrow Season 3 basically just follows Team Arrow, saving Starling City and whatnot from supervillains and criminals and what have you, when their paths come crossing with the League of Assassins after a couple of events occur, mainly the death of Sarah Lance. And yeah, that's just how they get in cross with the League of Assassins and their leader, Ra's al Ghul. So the main characters list is pretty much the same as last season. You have Oliver Queen, John Diggle, Thea Queen, Laurel Lance, Roy Harper, Felicity Smoke, and the new main villain of the season, Ra's al Ghul. And then we also got a couple of side characters this season. Well, recurring characters this season. You got Nyssa al Ghul, who's the daughter of Ra's al Ghul. Ray Palmer, aka the Atom, and Malcolm is also in this season a lot, so I'll put him in the recurring characters list as well. Oh, and Quentin Lance. Quentin Lance is also a main character. I don't know why I keep forgetting him, but yeah. Pretty much the same as last season, with an addition here or there. So for the acting this season, it was still good this season, but it wasn't really top notch like the last two seasons were. I guess the writing for some of the characters kind of fell apart, because some storylines didn't make sense. Other storylines were done over the top, and a few characters were kind of they didn't make sense. Felicity. But yeah. There was still good acting this season, but it just wasn't as prominent as the previous two seasons before. So first up, we have Oliver Queen, aka the Arrow. He's still called this season. He's still good this season. He still is a good main character. I guess some of the writing for him was a little sketchy here and there. When he becomes Al-Sahim later in the season, towards the end of the season, it's kind of weird seeing a quote-unquote evil Oliver. But yeah, it's okay. He's still a decent character this season, nonetheless. Next up, we have John Diggle, who doesn't really do anything this season, at all. I can remember two storylines with Diggle, and though they were an episode long. It was that little Suicide Squad episode towards the end of the season where they killed off Deadshot. Tough, because of the movie, which sucked, by the way. So I don't know why they killed off the good Deadshot.
Why?
But anyway, and that little thing in Corto Maltese at the beginning of the season with the guy targeting his family, I think. I don't even remember. But yeah, Diggle really doesn't do a lot this season. He's just an okay character. Next up, we have Thea Queen, and she's a good character this season. I don't know what it is. I guess it's the new hairdo or something. I'm just kidding. Yeah, she's a good character this season. She learned how to fight, so that's pretty good. She also found out about her brother's secret at long last. It only took about, how many episodes are in the season? 23, so over 50 episodes for her to finally find out the truth. But yeah, that's cool that she finds that out. Her little struggles with like Malcolm and stuff. It was pretty good. It was pretty like I saw it coming. She also plays a pivotal role in the season because Malcolm drugged her to kill Sarah, which kind of like leads the main story of the season. So that was okay, I guess. It was weird that Malcolm drugged her. I guess that was a weird part of her storyline. But other than that, yeah, Thea was a pretty good character this season. And yeah, her character, I think, kind of gets better from here, like ever so slightly. Next up, we have Laurel Lance. And my goodness, Laurel just took a huge step forward this season. She's a very good character this season. I think she might be the second best character this season to me, because yeah, she's very good this season. She finally becomes Black Canary, after training a little bit under this guy named Wildcat, and then finally forcefully joining Team Arrow. Well, not like forcefully, like she was forced into it. She forced herself into Team Arrow after Oliver, quote unquote, died, and Arsenal was just out there by himself. But yeah, Laurel's a good character. I'm glad she finally became Black Canary. She's a good Black Canary to me. Yeah, she's a good character this season. She has some good emotional scenes, especially with like the death of Sarah. That was a good emotional scene with her, and then the struggles with her between her and her father, with her hiding that information from him, and then when he finally finds out, that was a good emotional scene. And yeah, Laurel Lance is just a good character this season, and she gets better on from here on out. Next up, we have Roy Harper, aka Arsenal. He was once again a good character in the show. He finally gets his Arsenal suit, and that is a very good suit. I'll talk about that like a little later, I guess. Or I could mention it now. Like I said, the suit is amazing to me. Yeah, he's a good character this season. Yeah, he's just kind of like the sidekick of the show, which is pretty much how it is in the comics as well. They treat him much better than they treated Kid Flash in the Flash, but I'll get to that later. But yeah, Arsenal is a good character. He has some good scenes with the rest of the cast. It is sad though that he had to leave. I guess that actor, he wanted to do something else. I don't know what he was trying to do, but he wanted to do something else. So Roy Harper did leave the show towards the end of this season, which was kind of sad to see because he's a very good character to me. But at least he wasn't killed off, so that left the door open for him to make guest appearances in the future, which he did. Next up, we have Felicity Smoke, and oh boy, she gives me a headache this season. Not compared to next season though, where she gives me a full-on migraine and I want to beat my skull in. But Felicity this is like her super turn. Like, she goes from being just a little annoying last season to being super annoying this season. Especially when one instance I can talk about in this season, when Oliver, he quote unquote dies at the end of episode 9, and Team Arrow's left by themselves for a few episodes, but then he comes back. But then she gets mad that he's back with a plan or something. I don't know. It's like she's weird. She gets mad at him for not coming back right away. But how could he come back? He technically died. Like, you don't make any sense. And then this is the start of Olicity, Oliver and Felicity, going out, and I don't like their relationship at all. She's annoying. This character's annoying. She has her own storyline this season. It's stupid. Like that episode where we see her backstory, it's weird. She's weird and it's stupid. I don't like Felicity, y'all. I don't. And that's pretty much because of this season. and especially next season. But I will get to that in a later episode. But yeah, Felicity Smoke is not a good character this season.
I don't want to be a woman that you love.
You're kidding me! God!
Next up, we have Quentin Lance, and Quentin Lance is once again a good character this season. I feel like all seasons it's going to be consistent that Quentin Lance is a good character, but anyway, yeah, he's a good character this season. He portrays a lot of emotion this season. It's pretty justified as well. It's because he lost Sarah, well, again, but she actually died this time, so those were good emotional scenes with like him and Laurel, and then him going against like the vigilantes because they lied to him. That was pretty good to see. And yeah, Quentin Lance has a lot of emotion this season and is very justified and is pretty good as well. I like Paul Blackthorne's acting this season. And yeah, Quentin Lance is just a good character, and you know, it's constant throughout his time in the show. And finally, to end off the main characters list, we have Ra's al Ghul, played by Matt Nable. He was a villain. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't good either. He was just kind of there, to be honest. He's a good fighter, I give you that. Like that. I guess his peak was in episode 9, entitled "The Climb." You know, when he fought Oliver on top of the mountain. That was a pretty good fight scene. He's a good fighter. It's kind of weird that they made Ra's al Ghul into a Green Arrow villain when he's mainly a Batman villain. Like, I understand Deathstroke. That's mainly like a Batman villain, but they did good with Deathstroke. But Ra's al Ghul, it's on the other hand, it's weird. He presumably didn't meet Batman either yet, so that's kind of weird in that timeline. Yeah, his plan kind of doesn't make sense either. Like, his master plan to like destroy Star City just to kill Damien Dark, like that's a weird plan. And yeah, his death, it was okay. I didn't like the final fight at all either. It was kind of weird. It was weirdly shot. It was really placed too, like in the dark. And both Oliver and Ra's are wearing the exact same costume with the exact same black hood with the exact same weapon. So, and they shot long shots of that fight too. So it's pretty easy to lose who is who until they do close-ups. So it was a weird fight. And yeah, Ra's al Ghul was just a villain, and he actually kind of sucked at the end. Now to go over the recurring characters, we got like Nissa Al Ghul, played by Katrina Law. She showed up last season, but she only showed up like once, so that's why I didn't really go over her last season. Well, I did for like a brief second, but she was okay this season. You know, her father being Ra's al Ghul and all, she's kind of prominent in the main plot of the storyline. She's just an okay character to me. Nothing really special about her. Next up, we have the introduction of Ray Palmer, aka the Atom, played by Brandon Routh, or Ruth, however you say his last name. But he's a pretty good character this season. I like his introduction. It's kind of a little backstab that he bought Queen Consolidated and turned it into Palmer Tech. But yeah, that pretty much fits his character, to be honest. You know, him being a billionaire, just like Oliver used to be, at least. And yeah, he was pretty cool. I like how they gave him his little character arc this season. You know, that he turned into the Atom. Well, not turned into the Atom. He made the Atom suit during the season and finally became the Atom towards the end of the season. You know, that was cool. And that's cool that they met up. That he met up with the Arrow at last, and finally, like, they became allies. It's cool to see the Atom and the Arrow on the same side, at least. And yeah, I didn't like his relationship with Felicity. It was stupid. I didn't understand it. It was just like a pushing point for Oliver, and I don't get it at all. But yeah, other than that, Ray Palmer is a very good character this season, and I'm glad his character sticks around this for later appearances in the Arrowverse. Spoiler alert: he survives the explosion at the end of the season. And then finally, we got Malcolm Merlyn. He was a prominent figure this season. I know most people didn't like Malcolm this season, especially because of his plan to like his master plan to take his revenge against Ra's al Ghul. For me, he was okay this season. He wasn't really bad like some people say, but he wasn't great either. And all in all, it was actually just kind of weird that Oliver was willing to work with him in the first place, like so easily, especially because he killed his father, he killed Sarah, and he basically just kind of like worked with him just because he was Thea's father, which was weird. But yeah, Malcolm was okay this season, and I guess he kind of got what he wanted because at the end of the season he became Ra's al Ghul. So good for Malcolm, I guess. So moving on from the characters, we got the costumes and suits of the season. The Arrow suits is the same, and it's still the same amount of goodness, I guess. The Arsenal costume is my favorite costume of the season. The red and black, they just class off each other so well. The Black Canary suit is pretty good. I like the little latex look. The main villain, Ra's al Ghul didn't have a costume, I guess. The Atom costume is pretty good. I like that. Well, it's not a costume, it's more of a suit. I like that suit. And the League of Assassins suits, they're pretty much the same as Malcolm Merlyn's suit, and I liked it then, so I still like it now. And yeah, that's really all the suits and costumes for this season. The fight scenes were actually a little worse this season than most seasons. It's weird how you introduce the League of Assassins, which is supposed to be like one of the best fighting organizations in the world of DC, but the fight scenes weren't all that great to me. There were still a few good fight scenes, like the one in The Climb. That's the one I can mainly think of. But yeah, the fight scenes were okay this season. They weren't top notch like they were in the past 2 seasons. And yeah, they kind of get worse, like a lot worse next season actually. Just like last season, there weren't that many villains of the week, but even the ones that were there, they were trash, to be honest. I didn't like the villain, like the ones that did show up. Like the new version of Count Vertigo, he was awful. Like awful. Can't even stress how awful he is. Cupid was bad. And especially over the top. That little metahuman who went against the Atom, he was there, I guess. I mean, nothing special. I guess the only villain that was actually kind of decent this season was Daniel Brickwell, aka Brick, who he was like a sort of like a secondary main villain. Well, a main villain for like a 3-episode arc in the middle of the season when Oliver was disappeared. He was actually a pretty decent villain. But other than that, the villains weren't very good this season. And the main villain really wasn't that good either. So once again, with this year being the 3rd year of the Arrowverse, this introduces the crossover, because the Flash was introduced this season as well. Well, this year of the Arrowverse. And in this season, episode 8 was the second part of the crossover, with part 1 being in the Flash season 1 and this part 2 being in the Brave and the Bold. I also forgot to mention like the villains. There was Captain Cold, because Captain Boomerang. He was the villain for this episode, which is also like a villain of the week. He wasn't that great. The little accent was kind of over the top, to be honest. I like the little boomerangs, like that's a unique weapon, but other than that, he was just okay. Part 1 was definitely better than part 2. of the crossover, to be honest. It was cool that Arsenal was in part 2, interacting with the Flash. I liked that. I liked the Team Flash coming to like Team Arrow's place and stuff. I liked the little conversations of like morality and stuff between Oliver and Barry. But yeah, it was just okay. Well, it was a little better than okay, but it wasn't as good as part 1. And finally, I cannot do an Arrow review without going over the flashbacks. But the flashbacks this season were awful. Like, awful. I don't know why they decided to put Oliver in, I think it was Hong Kong. Yeah, Hong Kong. It was weird. Like, I don't get why. Like, the storyline in the flashbacks didn't make sense. The acting wasn't good at all. Yeah, especially that kid actor. He wasn't good. And that's like, I don't get why they put Oliver there. They could have just left him on the island, to be honest. And that would have been a better storyline than this Hong Kong storyline. It didn't make sense. And I guess it had a little bit of a connection to what was happening in the present day, but other than that, it was just weird. I didn't like him at all. This season was definitely the worst season for flashbacks. In conclusion, this season was definitely a drop from last season's greatness. The storyline kind of was weird this season. A few characters, Felicity, messed up the season. Not totally, but like at least a part. The flashbacks were awful. Some of the saving graces of the season though were like Roy being Arsenal. He was good. Laurel finally becoming Black Canary. That was good. And yeah, it was just weird. Especially like the last episode. A lot of the last episode didn't make sense. It was a bad season finale. Especially the ending. We know Felicity and Oliver driving off into the sunset. That was really stupid. Like super stupid. But yeah, other than that, this season was just an okay season to me. It's better than like most people think it is. Like I think it's better than that, but that once again, that's not saying much because it's just an okay season to me. I give it a 7.3 out of 10. Still kind of in that sort of good range, but more closer towards the just okay towards bad. So once again, I give it a 7.3 out of 10. Well, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you for tuning into this episode. Tune in next time for the next episode of this little Arrowverse TV show review series, which I believe will start the new show of Supergirl. So yeah, tune in for that. Leave a comment, leave a like, and subscribe for more of my videos. And let me know in the top right corner of the video in the poll what you thought about this season. Was it good? Was it bad? Was it okay like you think I thought it was? And yeah, just let me know that. And I will catch you guys next time. Peace out. I'm just getting started.